Hello everyone, and back for another video. Now if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on what I think the Model 3 Canadian pricing is going to be, and in that video I mentioned that I was going to talk about the Ontario Electric Vehicle Incentive Program, also known as the EVIP. That's the term we're going to use for the rest of this video. So today we're going to take a little bit of time and go through the EVIP program. We'll also talk about the Electrical Vehicle Charging Incentive Program, that's for the charger incentive, and give you all the ins and outs and how much rebate you're going to get and some of the details about the program. So the first thing you need to know about the EVIP is that it began in 2010 and the incentives were last updated in January 1st of 2017. We haven't seen any updates for 2018, so it looks like they're still here in place. So if you're considering a Tesla, it looks like we're still safe for the rest of this year, which bodes well for a lot of us waiting for Model 3s to arrive. Now, the EVIP program is fairly straightforward. When it got changed in 2017, they changed the criteria. It used to be based on, vehicle price and so on and so forth, but now they've largely eliminated that, except for some very high-end vehicles. And it's really broken down to three bits of information. So there's a base incentive of $6,000 to $10,000 based on the battery size. So it's anywhere from 5 to 16 kilowatt hours. There's an additional $3,000 incentive for vehicles with batteries in excess of 16 kilowatt hours, and then an additional $1,000 incentive for cars with 5 or more seats. Total that up, and the maximum incentive is $14,000. Now, plug-in electric vehicles, such as some hybrids that are on the market now, their incentives are geared a little differently. We're not really going to get into a lot of that stuff. We're mostly interested in the Tesla stuff. Now, I get a lot of questions about the EVIP program. There seems to be a lot of confusion, which of course is, kind of the point of doing this video here. One of the more common questions that I get is because the Ontario rebate program is so attractive, is I'm getting sometimes questions from people that live outside the province, and they're saying, well, why don't I just take delivery of the car in Ontario and apply for the rebate? And you can't do that because the incentive is for Ontario residents only, which means the person has to live in Ontario, the car has to be registered and plated in Ontario. So I'm sorry, but you can't game the system. Two other provinces, Quebec and British Columbia, have their own incentive programs, and I'm not going to cover that in this video, but you can certainly look at their websites and see how they're kind of structured. They're kind of similar, but they're kind of different in their own ways. But today we're really focusing on Ontario. The other question I get quite often is, what if I lease a car? Well, yes, you can lease a car. However, they're graduated. So you have to, in order to get the full amount of the incentive, $14,000, you have to lease the car for a minimum of 36 months. If you lease for 12 months, you only get 33%, and if you lease for 24 months, you get 66%. We'll show you those when we get on the eligible vehicles list here in a second. If I just click this, you'll get a list of all the cars that are available by the manufacturers. By the way, this list of manufacturers is everyone in Ontario that's participating in this program from a manufacturing aspect. So let's go down this list here and have a quick look. Here's a BMW, for example. Here's the i3. All of the i3s qualify for $13,000. And they have the minimum battery requirement. Of course, we're seeing here 33.2. The minimum is 16, but they only have a official seating capacity of 4 seats, which is why they only qualify for $13,000. And you can see here the one-year lease incentive is $43.29, and it's graduated up depending on how long you lease the car. Let's just go for fun down here. Let's go take a look and see what the Nissan situation is. You can see here the Leaf, both the 2017 and the 2018 are listed. 30 and 40 kilowatt hour, 5-seat capacity, full $14,000 incentive on that car. Let's take a look at Porsche for fun. Here's a Porsche Panamera 4 e-hybrid. It's a plug-in hybrid, but the battery size is only 14.1, so it falls below the minimum. It's 4 seats, and it only gets a maximum rebate of $3,000. So you can see the government is really pushing battery electric vehicles for the maximum amount of incentive. They really want people to get off of gasoline and fuels. And of course, what we're really interested in here is Tesla. So you can see all the different Tesla cars, the Model S and the Model X, 2016, 17, and 2018 models. Again, full incentive is $14,000. Now, your question is, why is the Model 3 not on this list? Well, Model 3 is not available in Canada yet, but I fully expect to see it be added to this list in due time. And because the requirements for the EVIP rebate program is based on battery size and seat size, it will fully qualify for the $14,000. So that's always good news. If you're looking for a Model 3, that will be the incentive. $14,000 if you pay or finance it, and if you lease it, you have to go for 12, 24, or 36 months. So if you scroll down the page a little bit here, you'll see the EVIP program guide. You can see all the rules and regulations on that. There's a list for the eligible vehicles list. The one we're really interested in here is the EVIP individual and business application form. Well, I happen to have that loaded here in Adobe Acrobat, so we can scroll down here and take a quick look at it. It's very easy. If you have Acrobat Reader, you can fill this out digitally. You can just click on the check boxes for the things that are pertinent to you. And as you can see here, you cannot change the province. You have to be in Ontario. There's no gaming the system here. Just to mention one little thing here, I know there's a lot of talk on the internet of a federal tax credit. Well, that's only for the U.S. What we're talking about here is specifically for Ontario. And in Ontario, our rebate is not tied to income, so everyone qualifies. It is an after-tax rebate on the car. Now, this is a question I get quite a lot from people. The usual question is, can I use the EVIP rebate to reduce the cost of the car that I have to finance? And the answer is both yes and no. It depends on the manufacturer. GM and Nissan, I do know that if you purchase one of their cars, say a Chevy Volt or a Bolt or a Nissan Leaf, that the dealer will total up the car with all the taxes, and they will then take the rebate and apply that to the vehicle cost of the car to reduce the amount that you're going to finance. Now, it means that they are going to get the rebate, not you. However, in Tesla's case in Ontario, they don't do that. And I think it has to do with the way that Tesla counts vehicle sales at the end of the quarter. They don't want to be left holding the bag as far as waiting on rebates. If you want to reduce the capital cost of the car, you should do what some people do is take out a line of credit or give yourself a short-term loan and front the rebate so you can pay yourself back when you get the rebate in the mail or through a direct deposit. So just like anything else, you just scroll down the list here and just click all the things that kind of matter to you. You have to fill in your mileage, your date of purchase or the lease, the vehicle model, the trim number, the year, make and manufacturer, your license plate number, and so on and so forth. There is a section in here, B14, about the green plate. I want to talk about the green plate for a second. Unless you specify otherwise, you will automatically be given green plates when you take delivery of your Tesla. Now, Tesla delivery specialists during your process will ask you, do you want green plates or not? You're not obligated to take the green plates. You can put personal plates on the car if you'd like. One of the reasons you want to consider green plates is that they will give you single occupant access to the HOV, the high occupancy vehicle lanes in the Greater Toronto area. By law, if you want to use those lanes, you have to have a minimum of 2 people in there, the carpool lanes. But with the green plate, you can do it with a single occupant. So it doesn't cost you any extra. The only difference, of course, with green plates, they can't be personalized. They're sequential, and you're just given a random number and off you go. So you can't personalize them. Again, you just scroll down the list, you just fill out all the stuff that you want, and then somewhere down here, they do give you a checklist to make sure, here it is right here, to make sure that you filled in all the information to send into the government. And then down here, there's a provision for data and applicant survey. You have to fill in this information as part of the rebate because of the government wants data from you as far as how you're using the car. That stuff you're kind of obligated by law in order to get this rebate to give them that information. But most of it's just survey stuff. You can just scroll down. And then finally, when you want to submit the paperwork, you can either snail mail it in or you can email it. Here's the information down there. I snail mailed mine in, and I decided a few weeks ago to check in on the program because I had heard all kinds of information. You know, the rebates are taking anywhere from 6 to 8 months to process, and I wanted to check and make sure that my paperwork was accurate, not to check on see when I was getting paid. And I was pleasantly surprised when they told me that as of the fall of last year, up until the end of 2017, they changed the program in such a way. They either added more manpower or they changed their system that I actually got my rebate in less than 2 months. So that's good news for those of you who are waiting for this. And I think a lot of it had to do with some of the dealers, as I mentioned before, that were fronting the rebate, and they were complaining because they were sitting there holding the bag for several hundreds of thousands of dollars that the government wasn't paying on time. So I think that had something to do with it. Don't quote me on that, but that's kind of some information that I had. So anyways, that's good news. If you're looking for the rebate, it's getting paid fairly quickly now these days. So if you're looking at an EV, there's also another rebate for the electric vehicle charging incentive program. So if I click that, we'll open that on another tab here, and you can see here what this is all about. Really what you want to be looking at for your car is a level 2 charger. That's really what 220 volts is for. The rebate covers 50% of the purchase cost up to $500. That's the maximum amount of the rebate that you will get. So if you buy a charger, say for $1,000, the maximum you will get is $500. But it's 50% of the purchase purchase cost. So if the unit costs $800, you're only going to get $400 back. And then you also get an additional 50% of the installation cost. That's for the electrician to actually do the work and install it. When you get a quote for installing the EVSE, you need to make sure that your electrician is either going to supply you with the ESA certificate or you have to pay extra for that. That is the inspection certificate. And that inspection certificate, the purchase, and all of this information paperwork has to go in along with your application to the government in order to get the rebate back. So there are some additional rules on here. So you see here that it's the charger has to be for residential or business vehicle use. The rating of the voltage has to be anywhere from 208 to 240 volts. So it's level 2 only applies. It can only charge one car at a time, which means you can't buy a commercial unit to do dual port charging stations. Now, the Tesla wall connector has the ability to split a load between up to 4 units, but that's not a dual port unit, so it still qualifies. There is a list of eligible charging stations. If you click this link, you're going to get a list of all of the different charging stations that are eligible for the rebate. If you're considering buying something that's off-brand, meaning that you're not obligated to buy the Tesla one, you can buy any of these others, but make sure it's on the list because otherwise it won't get approved. The unit also has to be purchased in Canada from a Canadian source, which means you can't buy it from the US or another country. So if you want to apply for the rebate, there's a link down here at the bottom of the page here for the application form. Let's take a quick look at that in Acrobat. Again, once more for the eligibility requirements, it has to be for private use. It has to be certified for sale and use in Canada. It has to be sold and purchased in Canada. Have a nominal voltage of 208 to 240 volts. And then they did a slight change to the program on January 1st, 2017. The applicants must apply for the EVCIP program within 3 months of the ESA certificate date. It used to be tied to the vehicle, which meant that when you supplied the paperwork for the rebate, you had to supply them with the car's VIN number and registration. And they've seems to have changed that as of January 1st. Now it's tied strictly to the ESA certificate. If you're looking at installing an EVSE, you can do it now without actually having the cars, which is good news because previously you had to have the car in possession and then apply for the rebate on the EVSE. Well, there you go. That is the EVIP program in Ontario in a nutshell. It's fairly straightforward, not too complicated. I just wanted to clear up some of the misconceptions that people were asking me about. Not going to talk about what's going on in BC or Quebec. They have their own programs. I live in Ontario, so this is what I know and what I've covered. And we'll leave it at that for now. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See ya.